Union of the Unknowns, a podcast dedicated to the exploration of modern culture, presents a weekly digest of current events that may have slipped past your radar. This is not your mama's news. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Not Your Mama's News, live, presented to you by the Union of the Unknowns. I'm your host tonight, Keel Thor. With me are the Unknowns. She's a woman of high sophistication. Ashley, Think, Change, Repeat.
Hello, that was good. Hey, everybody.
She's a true Sheila from the land down under, Stella Q.
True blue as blue can get. Hello, always good to be with you guys.
You too.
We may have another
And everyone
unknown.
listening.
Yes. Thank you and welcome. We may have another unknown showing up later, but we won't give away any clues as to who that may be just yet.
Fake and gay, there's a clue.
Yes. On Not Your Mama's News, if you aren't a regular listener or watcher, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. We like to bring you high quality news and information that showcases the clown world in which we live. Tonight, we have some good stories. I'd like to hand it off to Think, Change, Repeat, though. She's got a very important breaking news almost. Breaking? Would you consider it breaking news?
I would consider it close to breaking. It's difficult to describe anything as breaking in this news cycle unless it's just happening like 1 second ago.
Right.
But what I wanted to discuss is I'm just going to read the title here, InfoWars. The Nashville Transgender Shooters Manifesto has been released. Now, that's not the exact title, but that got me through the tongue-tied part. So Steven Crowder, the independent journalist / comedian, whatever he is, content creator, allegedly leaked 3 pages of the manifesto. Okay. So I am not 100% sure how he came by this information and whether or not this was just submitted via the FOIA or if somebody who actually, the FBI sent somebody leaked to Steven Crowder. So there are questions to how he came across this information. And so that part is sketch to me as well. Because I think Steven Crowder in general, to me, I have to wonder about these people. And I know I've talked about this before, but if they're in an independent media space and they have made it big in that space, then I have questions about them. So he certainly isn't different. However, let's say that all of this is legit. So if that's the case, then Audrey Hale, the shooter, basically was a super leftoid. Okay. So she was saying, she called the kids little crackers. She said that they were a bunch of little faggots with their white privilege and stuff like that. The other thing that was also released is that she apparently had an entry in her journal called Death Day, which was basically a time-by-time check-in of how she was going to go about her day. She also said that she was ready and that she hoped her victims wasn't. She said, quote, "I hope I have a high death count." There were some weird drawings in the journal as well. So what I wanted to bring up, though, was that there was a lot of suspicious stuff about this story from the very beginning. And we talked about it, missing the point. Drew at Missing the Point had an episode on it as well, but there was the address started with the 33. We had, 3 kids and 3 teachers killed. And then we also know that I'm skeptical of basically every mass shooting that makes it to the mainstream media these days. And I feel like there's a lot of similarities. And I think that they personally are created. And this case is no different than that. So I saw some people questioning the legitimacy of this, if it was even real, or if this was something that was created just as a psyop or a distraction. I reached out to Tim Tuttle, or at @NotJoylun McVeigh on Twitter, who our buddy Tim Tuttle did the Columbine episode with us, and he studies this stuff and he's quite good. So I reached out and I said, do you think that this was legitimate? And he thought that it did on first glance, but he thought that this was probably the least important fact of this entire case. So what he thinks is that there was other things that had happened to Audrey Hale, that maybe there was the common theme of child abuse. SA, okay? I don't want to say it on here, but basically that something was going on as she attended this school as well. And there was a pastor who had said that she had been receiving counseling from one of the victim's parents. Then later that was retracted. So the reason that I'm bringing this is not because I have all the details. It's worth a deep dive in and of itself. But what I wanted to say is that it is worth just taking it with a grain of salt. And I think a lot of the people that are with us already know that, right? They're not just going to automatically believe whatever's out there in alt media and mainstream media. So I just want to say, let's see what else plays out here. Know that there's a lot of other information that is kind of being suppressed and scrubbed. And in addition to that, I think that there are other goals at play here. So I'll tell you, for example, Steven Crowder.
Let me pause you there for just a minute. Our mystery guest has arrived. You all know him as America's sweetheart, Justin the Ism Kent.
Ta-da.
How you doing,
Yay.
Justin?
I wasn't prepared.
Oh, yeah, he's sitting. I said stand by.
You don't know if I'm standing.
I thought you were just short.
Good day,
All
mate.
right. G'day. How you
Good,
going?
all right. So continue. Ashley was talking about the
Yeah, if I could just say
scooter.
one
Go ahead,
little
Stella.
thing. I just find leaks are always suspicious in these circumstances.
Yes.
Back over to you, Ashley.
Yes, thank you. I'm with you. I do find it suspicious. And that was one of the things that I was listening to their evaluation of this on Slow News Day or AM Wake Up. And they said that they thought that the same thing. They thought that this is sort of setting the precedent that you're never going to get the real document. And I even think that Monica had talked about this, right? It's always going to be a leak. It's always going to be that you're never going to see the real thing. So I think that there's more of this at play. Also, YouTube removed Steven Crowder's video. Now, he has his deal with Rumble, so that's not his main gig anymore. But just the point of, isn't it just a little bit odd that every little creature out in the popular alt media space ends up having something bad happen to them, right? Like the iron fist of censorship is coming after them, or, you know, Alex Jones, the mega lawsuit, all of this stuff.
Russell Brand.
Yes, it feels Pied Pipery to me. I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm not saying, but it feels Pied Piper. It feels distraction. It feels multifaceted. It feels like the agenda for censorship. I also saw a mention of the First Lady of Tennessee knowing some of the teachers in this church. So I feel that this is worth a deep dive. And I didn't bring that today, but I did bring just the fact that we've got this, we've got the censorship element, we've got the leak element, and that there's a lot of stuff about this story that is not being discussed. But then we have the whole white supremacy and crackers element that is being discussed. So it feels like a distraction as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
There has been a lot of suspicious things with this. Is this the same incident that had the principal that looked like Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman?
Maybe so. It was the Nashville shooting, and I think you might be right. I feel like we did talk about that.
I think that was the same incident. There's been so many.
Yeah, certainly whenever they put some kind of emphasis on a race-oriented, racist comment thing, it's definitely propaganda. Definitely, they're trying
Yeah.
to trigger
Yeah, look,
people and get everybody pissed off about it. Who knows if that kid was really racist or not? But they're gonna bullet point that point of that person's manifesto, the he/she's manifesto.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's, they on AM Wake Up, they questioned what is this even real? Because I just find the whole thing odd. Like what okay, sure. This person's mentally ill, and sure, do I think that they were programmed to kill? Yes, I do. But what person of that age group calls people crackers? This is a white person who also was trying to be a white male. Does that make sense to anybody? And I know y'all tell me all the time, you're like, Ashley, let it go. It's never going to make sense. That's the point. And I say, okay, guys. And then here I am next time. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the fact is, it's in the news, so they want us to know.
Yeah, Justin, what do you got?
So we're talking about the tranny Nashville shooter, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Did anyone count how many times that woman-festo, gender neutral
Person
here?
festo, thank you.
Thank you. How many times she wrote faggot in it?
I didn't count, but
probably
she
33.
did.
Yeah, there's quite a
it
lot.
probably was.
And that,
Yeah.
if it's supposed to be this like ultra woke trans person, but you got to be pretty base to call everyone faggot. So I'm not sure where I really feel on this.
It's like a bit of a soup. It's a cauldron of all the narrative aspects, isn't it?
really is.
We've got the trans, we've got the racism, we've got the guns.
The whole
It's,
buffet.
yeah, the whole smorgasbord.
Now,
Help
this
yourself.
was
Take what you
a
want.
female human being that had transitioned into a boy presenting person, right?
Well,
Yeah.
so she was identifying as a male. So originally Audrey, then she was identifying as Aiden. However, I don't know where she was on her transition stage. And that's another thing. We haven't really had access to that information as far as what medication she was on, meaning SSRIs, because that's always there. And then as far as like hormone replacement therapy, because if you look at her, she simply looks like she is dressing as a dude. She doesn't look, there doesn't appear to be any facial hair. There doesn't appear to be, that kind of stuff.
You can't judge a man based on his lack of ability to grow facial hair.
I don't know.
This is 3 weeks right here.
In
the words
Fair enough.
of Mike Tyson, that's methed up.
Methed up.
How old was this assailant? Alleged assailant?
Ooh, good question. I do not recall her age. She was young 20s.
Yeah, 20 something.
So it wasn't actually at the school or a student.
Right. She wasn't a student there at this time, but she had been a student. And see, that was where the odd thing in what Tim Tuttle was telling me was that he caught where someone said she had been saying, the pastor for the church said that she had been receiving counseling at some point at the church. Not at this time, though. Okay, so Gentleman Skeptic, thank you. He said that it is mid to late 20s, and he also said that someone better keep an eye on Ellen Page.
Yeah. Hey, let's give a shout out to who's here? Mike the Polymath, right? He's here.
Yes.
Easy Peasy Podcast.
Forgot to keep it.
And
Yep.
Gentleman Skeptic.
Yes.
Hey,
and
guys.
I also
Hey,
want to
guys.
shout out over on Rumble. I'm actually manning it this time. So if Sir Tim of the Tonals happens to be here, I got you, fam. But our buddies, our as Jen calls them, the pod family of origin. So our family people, we got Jen, we got Ando over there.
Hey,
And
Ando.
so thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone on the live for tuning in. That's
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so that's that, guys. What else? Any other questions on that? And basically, my whole point, I need to do more research here, but I think maybe I always say this, but something stinks.
Yeah.
Well, was this the incident with the shoes as well? How there was a
Yes.
discrepancy with? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Just about to say that. Justin, what do you had a comment?
Scooped you. Sorry.
Why is everything always fake and gay, and why is this specifically fake and gay thing coming out right before World War
Exactly.
III?
Exactly.
I
What is
give
the
up. Why?
distraction? Oh, so Sir Tim is Gentleman Skeptic. Hello, Gentleman
Oh.
Skeptic.
You just doxed him.
He
How
doxed
Did
me
he
dare
well.
you.
Don't worry, we can go and bleep that.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
delete that live bit.
goodness.
Not a problem.
My goodness.
Oh man.
Superpowers.
Yeah, I've been wondering why now? It just seems so odd to me. And like why Steven
Distraction.
Crowder ushering in a little more censorship from the folks over at YouTube. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, that's the first I've heard of Steven Crowder since his whole Dewey contract thing came up.
Exactly. Yes. So
I thought he
he's
was
been
done for.
He's been around. No, he's been keeping on. However, this is like the first time he has kind of been back up in the hullabaloo ever since his fallout with Daily Wire happened, because there was a potential that he was going to go on board with Daily Wire. Supposedly they had a falling out and Crowder did him dirty. Some people said that. Some people said that Daily Wire was doing him dirty. Whatever. I don't trust any of them.
I'm just trying to figure out who Steven Crowder is. I'm just looking now. Is he a fairly young guy, American, Canadian, conservative political commentator and media host?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good, thank
They're
you.
always
But-
Canadian.
Fair. Yeah, and actually, speaking of Sir Tim, the you did see Tommy Kitten, Canadian. Ellen Page's handler, Harley Pasternak, was a Canadian military guy.
Harley Pasternak.
Pasternak?
Yes.
Pasternak?
Is
Pasternak.
Does that mean something? If she's gone past her neck?
Well, it's actually a dude. So he was Kanye's handler as well. In addition to Ellen Page, Mac Miller, who's dead. There's weird stuff with this guy.
Yeah.
Canadian military guy who's allegedly a trainer in Hollywood. But per what Justin was saying, the Canadian link. Yes, Kanye's trainer too, Tim. Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that pseudo tranny stuff. Let's move
Yet
on.
again, non-conclusive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always.
I last thing I haven't been keeping up with it. Last thing I remember was the shoes, and I remember looking at the videos and stuff. But anyway, that whole thing was just.
Did we
weird.
figure out if it was the Tootsie episode? Because
and
gosh, if it's the same one, it just looked identical
I think it
to
might have
Dustin
been.
Hoffman.
One
Yeah,
that I wanted to say was that Jen said that MK Ultra was ran out of McGill University. So Jen, can you confirm in the chat that is a Canadian university? Okay, so he said Trudeau's mom was in McGill MK Ultra program and got electroshock. Unbelievable. So there's certainly that connection. And I also want to say that as far as the recent Maine shooting, Jen had tagged me in a super fascinating thread about child abuse happening at a deaf school in Maine, and that there's a whole association. So here's the other thing with all of these kids, there always seems to be these assault allegations at the schools that they attended as well. And that's no different than than Audrey Hale's situation at Covenant in Nashville.
Also, something that came to my mind, gosh, I really should be able to remember this. I think it was Tim Tuttle that we were talking to. Was it? Anyway, that I think it was the Columbine School had previously been an MK Ultra experimental area or a research lab or something. Can you remind me of that, Ashley?
Yeah, so Eric Harris is who we kind of honed in on in that episode. So his dad was a military guy originally in New York. That's where the allegations of experimentation happening on him. However, when they relocated the family, it was in Littleton, Colorado, which had the largest employer in that town was Lockheed Martin, a military contractor, with almost 30%
That's right. Yeah.
of that town being employed by Lockheed Martin. That also ties in to John Benet Ramsey, because her dad's business was a subcontractor, had just been bought out or something to that effect
That's right.
at Lockheed Martin. So Sir Tim in the Tunnel said that Harris's father was military intelligence. Yes, he was definitely involved in the military. There was accusations that Eric Harris had been experimented on, and there was allegations that he had been assaulted. You know what kind I mean, as well. So there's all these elements that keep coming back.
Yeah.
Nobody heard my joke.
Oh, sorry, man. What,
No,
I
is
heard it. It was
worth repeating?
hilarious.
Okay. Where was I going? Okay, what I was sort of going with that, I'm just wondering if, there could have been some sort of scenario of, as a quiet weapon, as in EMFs, etc. I just wonder if it's sort of happening in a lot of places like schools, unis, where they kind of are doing, as we've been talking about on the WTF Easy Peasy podcast, WTF forum, the last couple of weeks, actually. We've been talking about the mind control technology that there are patents for, which doesn't mean that it does exist just because it's a patent, but if something exists, there is a patent for it.
Well,
so if that is the case, we would never know who they're targeting, when, where, or why.
Or activating, right? So who knows who has had the training via the torture, the mind control, and then they're ready to be activated, right? So then Gentleman Skeptic Tim also said that didn't the Aurora shooter have some kind of government connection? For sure. Or at least he had the college connection, because I'm pretty sure that one of his parents worked at an Ivy League and he had an internship. I think it was maybe Stanford or something like that. So that whole situation is extremely sus. Jen did provide us with the wiki, or excuse me, an encyclopedia about that program and the connection. And then Ando also said that Littleton is spook central, 100%. So it's all of these similar threads with all of these shooters that obviously you're never going to learn about that in the mainstream. And really a lot of the alt news, the big alt news, they're not talking about this stuff. I mean, and it's pretty wild.
Yes.
It's all pretty weird.
Can I just say Manifesto is hilarious, and thank you to Burn Babylon Burn.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I've got a story here. Kind of ties in with something that we heard earlier this year, I think. We all remember the Twitter files, right? Where they exposed the blatant CIA, Department of Defense interference with suppressing information on Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's some more of that happening. A Judiciary Committee released a report this week detailing how the Department of Homeland Security, our favorite department, our favorite legitimate department in the government, worked with several universities, mostly Stanford University, and formed a disinformation group called the Election Integrity Partnership, which I can tell you right now had nothing to do with election integrity. But what they were doing, exactly, what they were doing, basically, same kind of thing. They were suppressing speech and information and jokes and opinions of mostly conservative or sources. It was formed in July of 2020, so it was right before the election, and that's when it went into big, wound up and got into gear. And anyway, it really pisses me off, of course, hearing this kind of stuff. I was talking to my people at work about this particular story, and we should all be outraged. I know all of us are, but we're not surprised. We've all been watching this stuff happen for years, so we're all.
I've been getting censored since like 2014.
Yeah, so it's no big news thing to us, but it's just whenever I see the stuff brought like shown, like it's actually happening. The stuff we've been talking about and speculating about for years. It's actually like that, and we aren't afraid to tell you about it anymore. It blows my mind how it can just actually be there. Like it's
So
not
blatant.
not a fantasy. It's just blatant government corruption.
So
Right. Like it's so in your face, they're not even bothering to even try and hide it or obscure it anymore at all.
Nope.
Mm.
It's just
I don't have any gay retarded friends. So has anyone seen what the official liberal Joe Bidenomics take is on the news of blatant censorship?
I don't have that information handy.
I mean, I'd just be curious to see the mental gymnastics that they pull
They
out.
probably
of here,
don't even report it at all.
Correct. I would say they wouldn't even address it, and then they would just, I haven't heard this from the horse's mouth, but normally if it's anything like the, press secretaries like Jen Psaki and whatever the other gal's name is,
cringe John Pierre, because she's so cringe.
Jean Bonnet or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stole cringe Jean Pierre from Dave Rubin, and I just feel disgusting stealing something from that faggot.
Well, I will say
apologize.
that Dave Rubin is certainly World War III genocide advocate, so I'm definitely not interested in what he has to say. But you're right. What she does, what they both do and have done, is just ignore you, gaslight you, and tell you that it's not even happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was exactly what they would do in the case of censorship.
Or they might say, well, they were just censoring misinformation. It just so happens that more conservatives were putting out misinformation back then. Yada 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 yada. But a lot of the censors, the people that were actually doing the censoring on whatever social media platforms they were affecting, were students at these schools. So they were employed by the election integrity, whatever the fuck, and they were the ones, flagging things that were deemed misinformation. So of course, college students are going to be completely unbiased,
And Kamala just had a speech talking about mis and disinformation, and I think she was going with the old dangerous to our democracy. And I also saw a blip recently from Fox News joining in on how this stuff is dangerous to our democracy. But of course, it's from the World War III, the pro World War III crowd. They hate it when you say that we shouldn't have World War III. So,
oh yeah,
it's
they
everywhere.
hate that.
Yeah, they really hate it.
I can't help having a little snigger every time somebody says Kamala made a speech. It's just like, it's always funny. It's like, how many times did she cackle?
Exactly. Like she stumbled through something that her handlers gave her to say, and she cackled, and she sounded like a complete dumbass maniac the entire time.
I pray
100%.
for Kamala Harris presidency. Just imagine her ripping speeches off the dome. Like, every time it is 10 out of 10 comedy gold.
It definitely
right
is.
about that.
She's consistent.
Like, the empire's crumbling. Can we at least have a good time and get some cheap beer while we watch?
What we
the
need.
only cheap beer is Bud Light. And you know who drinks that, Justin?
I'm not drinking that tranny jizz.
It would be cool to have a Trump Harris presidency. I think they'd probably play off each other a lot, like,
But here's the thing with Trump.
Hmm.
Trump is actually good at just doing speeches off the dome.
Right.
And it, like, half of what he says is actually, like, incredibly based. But then you look at the shit that he pulls, and it's like, oh, you're just a gay faggot like the rest of them.
Yep. That's true.
Typical New Yorker.
I heard Kamala do a speech about something recently, and it's every time I hear her speak, it's the same formula. She talks about whatever the topic is, she explains it as if she were talking to a 3-year-old, and then she just repeats herself over and over
She
and
goes
over again.
then she like repeats like
Yeah.
the start of her explanation, like what she's explaining, and then she does like half the explanation. It's the best. How can anyone hate her?
She explains like she's talking to a 3-year-old. That's called projection.
Well, I mean,
meaning that she has the mental faculties of a 3-year-old, or meaning that she's trying to infantilize her audience for some sort of like
I think you're giving her
the
too
way
much
that she's
credit.
speaking to them.
The former.
Yeah, she doesn't think that deeply.
She has the mental capacity of a 3-year-old. That's what I meant.
Gotcha.
Well, no one said she
So-
got to her position by doing anything other than sucking dick.
Well, she'd make a perfect president, wouldn't she?
What?
Speaking of, wait, how about this? just in case there are any people listening with a mind capacity of a 3-year-old, we have a nice
Yeah,
quick
sorry.
story from Ismcant, Justin.
Well, speaking of pussy, so
It's always good to have you back.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's been work is kicking my ass. But I
Hear that,
just
boy.
have a quick story out of
Sweating it out at the brothel.
yeah. It's not as easy as they make it out to be, you know? Like, you know how many knee pads I got to go through every month?
Get some government issue ones, mate.
It's
Get some Kamala Harris branded knee pads.
now
Camel toe knee pads.
that actually might not be a bad business idea.
There's a niche.
Like,
A niche, get it?
how many
niche.
million, like,
Never
during the 2020 election, the same person made toilet paper with Trump on it and Biden on it. This is the
Yep.
kind of business opportunities we need to keep in mind as we're moving forward. Genius.
That's the kind of the foresight we need to make our millions.
I was about to make a really bad foreskin joke, but I'm just gonna move on instead.
Oh, you mean there's a good foreskin joke?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Are you anti foreskin still? Is that the official
Only the
stance?
removal of,
You okay?
particularly the methodology.
Yeah,
But
me
let's
too.
not go
But
there.
there's a whole bunch of methodologies. And it just depends on the culture. Like, some people do it in a sterilized medical setting. Other people
And
do
some
it
don't.
in a way where they give the baby herpes by sucking its dick after they chop it off. So, you know, every culture is equal. That's what I always say.
So, what's your story, Justin?
So, anyways, out of Portland, Oregon, I believe Oregon is the shithole country that Portland resides in.
Yes.
So it's one that's going to tug on your heartstrings a little. So the headline is court orders landlord to pay $1.375 million for kidnapping his tenant's cat.
What?
So what happened is, I don't know the dude's name, but the cat's name was Frank, and that's really the only thing people care about, right?
True story.
So Frank,
hold on.
The cat's name was what? I'm sorry?
Frank.
Frank. Okay.
Frankly, I can't believe you didn't hear that, Stella.
That's appalling.
Fur in my ears.
Oh, what?
I'm sorry, Ashley.
I didn't
Correct
get
your
that
pun.
one.
Can we just do a podcast that's just nothing but puns the entire hour?
I might get
No.
one in. I
That-
might get one in.
That might be all right.
You just got to Google, topic puns, and they'll give you like 100, and then you just got to work them in.
That'd
for-
be a good idea because puns are awesome.
Yeah, oh no, for sure, but we might need to hit the pause button a few times.
All right, let's
See, See,
Let's just hit the tail end of this thing and get back onto Justin's story.
You guys
Yeah,
are
sorry,
ferocious.
sorry about the foibles.
You guys are ferocious. So where was I? Frank, 3-year-old cat. The dude is living in a drug recovery, like a rehab, or what's
The
the
halfway house or something?
thank you, halfway house. One of those things. It's a private organization. So the landlord admitted to catnapping the cat. And thank you, gentleman skeptic. I'm all over the place. So the landlord admitted to stealing the cat. His defense in court was that he thought that it was a violation of the man's lease to have a cat. So guy takes him to court, $1.375 million. We're going to go and round it up to 1.4 from here because I can't talk because I'm retarded. And here's the weird part. So Frank the cat, he actually belonged to someone else before he was adopted into the rehab. So, like the guy, he just found a cat, like a stray. He's like, oh, I'll adopt it. I'm a good person. And once the landlord catnapped him, if you guys aren't in the live chat, like, I mean,
yeah, what are you doing?
you got to get here. I'm not going to spoil anything because, but you guys keep distracting me with great puns and okay, so the landlord
Close your eyes, little one.
dropped off the cat to the local cat shelter, and then they scanned the cat and found a microchip in it. So now the cat's with its original family. So the cat, like, it was a cat that lived a life, and then it lived a completely separate life as Frank. And now it's living a third separate life as Panda Bear. I don't know.
Felix.
There you go.
Well, that's 3 lives. It's only got 6 more characters to come up with.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's okay.
Well, it's all right because you got the best character here now.
Does that mean it's got like multi-personalities?
Okay. So the guy, so the cat is currently being held. Did he go back to the original owner at this point, or did he?
Yeah, Frank went back to the original owner.
Okay. So the guy that won the $1.4 bazillion settlement doesn't even get to keep the cat. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
But theoretically, he gets to keep $1.4 million, but having a god damn it. Like every time I lose my train of thought, and I feel like at this point they're doing it on purpose.
Of course they are.
Where was I?
And the cat's
So,
backside, I think.
Anyways, Frank is no longer Frank. Frankly, I don't give a damn, my dear.
Right. Well, that's pretty wacky. I mean, so the
yeah.
guy, you don't even own the cat anymore, but you get to sue somebody for $1 billion or $1 million.
Yeah.
And then whatever.
So theoretically,
city.
He has $1.4 million, but anyone that's ever dealt with the legal system or, courts will tell you that it's one thing to have a judgment. Collection's a whole nother issue.
Right.
Because unless you're Alex Jones, you can just bankruptcy out of most judgments. I think child payments and school loans are the other ones I can think of.
You got to sell your settlement to one of those settlement companies.
J.G. Wentworth.
There you go. That guy.
Hey, that's actually a good point on the Alex Jones thing. Not to go down that rabbit hole, but I was wondering what is he going to do about that? Because he did file for bankruptcy and they said it didn't matter. So how is he supposed to pay $1 billion?
I know that certain types of settlements, like child support, that kind of thing, you can't bankrupt out of that. You're still
Yes,
on the
yes. So that's
depending
what
on
they're
the
saying.
state,
That Alex Jones couldn't bankrupt out of this $1 billion payment that he was charged to pay the parents of the Schmandy Schmuck.
I mean, I wouldn't be. I would actually be surprised
Handy
if
sook.
it wasn't still going up on appeal. But assuming that it's either not going to be appealed or if the appeal has already been denied, then I would imagine what's going to happen is he has to basically make payments of, X amount of dollars every month for the rest of his life.
Either that, or perhaps this is what I was thinking. He also, if he filed for bankruptcy, then that would have maybe given him a way to put everything in a trust, like let his wife manage it or something like that. So basically, he continues to make money, but he would say that he doesn't have any money.
I think he would have had to have done that before he was sued.
Yeah, maybe.
I was going to say he would well and truly have his ass covered from the very beginning. I'd say from the moment he started blowing up, if he's real, because I believe he's created personally, and I cannot take this court case seriously. I don't think that's just a whole example thing. I mean, he's still going. Isn't InfoWars is still going, correct?
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that says a lot to me.
Yeah, it's still going. Still, have a really healthy advertising their products and that kind of stuff. So I was wondering how that's going to play out.
Look, I mean, I don't know what his empire is worth. It's. I do find that often you sort of think it's something, and then it usually turns out to be 10 times more these days. It's like they just chuck around the word billion like they used to chuck around 5 cents, or a dime, let's say. I don't take this whole penalty thing seriously because, I mean, $1 billion? Are you kidding? That's, to me, that just seems like they made it so big that it was so obvious that it wasn't real, but,
Yeah,
or
so extreme, such a punitive punishment for like, you don't question the narrative, or this is what, the whole.
Exactly. And the same thing has happened here in it's happened in many places, but for instance, in Australia, it was only 2017 or 18 or something, there was another. We talked about it on the show once. There was a whistleblower that was made an example of. He was put into jail for 35 years, I think it was. And that was purely and he really didn't do anything except expose a bank for, taking advantage of customers, something that was not right. But because he screwed up one little thing and he did something illegal, which was take some records home, get them home into his private residence, and that's where they got him. So they made a huge example out of that guy, and this is exactly the same thing, only a much smaller scale, because, I mean, 35 years, $1 billion, I don't know, which that's pretty equal, sort of, almost 35 years of your life.
Yeah.
No chance of appeal either, I believe.
So, yeah, this is a weird one. This is something for us to keep an eye on. Gentleman skeptic Tim of the Tunnels says there's only so much super male vitality a man can sell.
Super male vitality.
Alex sells boner pills, Stella. So there's that. Then the other thing that I wanted to
chime in, they're not even good boner pills,
was that, so Jen said that they say that he makes $20 million a month. He also said that he believes that it will be overturned. And then Ando says that he loves Alex. He is just on a leash, a Zionist leash.
That's not what he said.
And that he likes troon porn because anyway.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be some sensitive people out there with that comment, but that's just my opinion, and I'm allowed to have one.
I'm gonna need to know more about Alex Jones and his tranny porn watching.
Well, he's a big Blair White fan, so there's one thing.
You didn't know that, Justin? There's that picture of him from a couple of years ago where he was, I don't remember what he was doing, but he had his phone out and he just kind of had it just hanging on to it. And somebody got a picture of him from behind, and you could see he had some tranny porn website pulled up on it temporarily.
Well,
yeah, was that video or an image?
I don't remember. It may even have been faked, but I think people were saying that was an actual real.
Yeah, it became a meme.
Yeah.
So
it became like people thought that in their head. either way. So they do think
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So yes, Sir Timothy Tunnell says that Alex is a limited hangout. Stella thinks that. I kind of agree, or like controlled op. I know Ando likes him. I really like him as well. But I sort of do view him, as I do Tucker, right? That
Oh, you can like these people
with a
as
grain of salt,
as cult of personality, but you don't have to trust them.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. I've got this new. Okay, I'm going to just introduce this because I have said it once or twice in the past, but I just want to say the Pied Piper thing. That's coming to fruition. Okay, that's happening. Look, Russell Brand, perfect example. But I'm now moving on to Judas Goat, so I just want to make that clear. Judas Goat is the sort of like that's how I see Alex Jones. Same sort of thing, really, but a little bit more contrived, perhaps. I don't know.
Justin?
Yeah. And Jen, real quick, hold on, Justin. Jen also likes Alex, but you just have to understand his blindness.
So,
yep.
In my humble opinion, we breezed over the whole tranny porn thing way too quick. So, because I understand hating Alex Jones, and while I don't divulge in the tranny porn, I mean, on occasion, but as it's not a regular occurrence in my life. But here's the thing. Let me make the argument for tranny porn. If you have, and it's a damn good one. If you have one woman, born woman, and one man, chick with a dick, this is actually the least gay way to watch porn. It's the exact same anatomy, but you get an extra set of tits.
I've heard that argument as well, and I do not agree with it.
Well, you're wrong. So I don't know what to tell you.
Too many dicks porn these days.
Don't hold back.
Yeah. Okay, last one before we move on from this one. I apologize. I didn't even mean to take us down the Alex Jones rabbit hole. I just want to say that
Tim.
Franco the cat, it was catastrophe. Okay.
She had to get it in. Well done. It was worth it.
All right, smart Alec. Speaking of smart cookies, Stella Q's got a smart story about some smart appliances.
Yes.
Are they that smart?
Give me a heads up whenever you want me to roll the bean footage.
I reckon we could just go straight into it because it's just really a discussion point. I don't have particularly any notes on this. I just thought we could talk about it because it's stuff everyone here that's watching, listening, what have you, I'm pretty sure would be already expecting because it was very predictable. But let's just roll with the smart TV takeover.
A battle is brewing between Foxtel and its free TV competitors over the content you see on your smart TV. The Albanese government has promised to provide better visibility for local streaming apps, but Foxtel believes Australians don't want it.
When you turn on your smart TV, a familiar page of streaming apps appears on the home screen, but that order could be about to change.
All of the people watching that have Foxtel, it really is a takeover of their remote.
Foxtel CEO Patrick Delaney has sounded the alarm about the impact for all Australians if free TV competitors, including the ABC, get their way.
If they want to go into apps, it means that all the free-to-air owned apps would be listed first. Didn't seem right to us. It certainly doesn't seem right if Australians were told the government is going to tell you that on the front page of your iPhone, that it would determine what apps are on your front page.
Labor promised at the last election to legislate a so-called prominence framework for connected TVs. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland play is simple, that Australians can readily access the local TV services they rely on for Australian content, sporting events, news and emergency information. Foxtel, which broadcasts Sky News Australia, commissioned research into what consumers actually want. It found 94% of Australians don't want the government controlling the order of apps, and 80% believe the choice of what they watch should be their own.
It is not right, and the government needs to listen to everyday Australians. They own the TV, they're passionate about it, and they do not want the government telling them what to watch.
Free-to-air broadcasters represented by Free TV Australia want new rules that would ensure their channels are displayed first on all TVs. It also wants search results changed to ensure their shows pop up first. Foxtel says that means it would have to drastically overhaul its layout. Sports fans would be shown free-to-air games over KO Sports coverage. It would also change the design and impact personalisation on its soon-to-be-released aggregation platform Magneto.
So presence on TVs is one thing, but giving a massive commercial advantage and locking others out is a very different thing.
The Communications Minister won't confirm when the details of the prominence plan will be finalised, only telling Sky News she'll have more to say about the timeline in due course. In a statement, Michelle Rowland says this is a complex area and the government is working diligently to get the new framework right.
And this government has been one that listens and communicates well, so we want to make sure that's the case on this too.
Trudy McIntosh, Sky News, Canberra.
Okay.
This government's pretty good at listening. Oh my God.
What the fuck? As
Yeah.
an American, I am completely confused and frustrated by that news report.
Good. It's done its job then.
Why does anybody other than the TV manufacturers and the people that create the software that holds the apps on the TV have any say as to what the order of the apps is? What?
That, my friend,
Well-
is the question.
But I mean, devil's advocate, you go onto the Play Store, the Apple Store, even Google, you're always going to see the sponsored content first.
Sure. But that's not because the government is making any decisions about.
Or is
Not
it?
maybe, okay, maybe beyond, behind the scenes, off of the record, the government is controlling that stuff. Sure. But officially, it's ridiculous that the government should even chime in on this thing. I don't know.
You hit the nail. You hit the nail on the head, Keels, because it doesn't really matter what it is they are doing. The fact that they are doing it, and this is the beginning of a slippery slope. I couldn't even probably tell you exactly the details, even though I've seen that report now 3 times, because all I hear is the government's going to reach their hand in and make some decisions where they bloody well shouldn't, and then the rest is just blah 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 blah. Because
Yeah.
that's the essence of it.
That
And
is-
no doubt it's going to be in our favor. It's going to be for our safety and our, effectiveness. Yeah, exactly. So this is a very bloody dangerous thing. But the predictable thing is smart technology. I mean, I should have brought the acronym up. SMART is an acronym. And
Well-
it is about the control of devices that we all have known, and yet we've just ignored and gotten in deeper and deeper and deeper, myself included. So this is the thing. It's ultimate control. We've fallen into their trap, and now they're showing their colours. It's all, we got them now. And they're all coming out with their plans. So be
Now,
quiet.
are these types of TVs new down there in Australia? 'Cause
Oh,
we've had them for
no.
decades.
This is part of the point.
It's
This is part
Australia,
of the-
not North Korea, man.
Well, that's another thing I was confused by, is they were acting like it was this brand new thing. Oh, you can have apps on your TV with the remote, and
Well, government's
no.
probably
No.
just figuring it out.
that could
The rest of the population's been on board for 2 decades.
right.
Yeah, no, it's probably about the
They're
same.
ones that made it.
What's that, Ash?
Ashley?
The government's, like the DARPA people are the ones that made the shit.
There you
Oh.
go.
Exactly, just like the internet. So it's just, no, it's nothing new. We've had smart TVs being pushed on us, through Aldi, really cheap. Like,
Mhm.
this is why they're selling them so cheap, because they want everyone in the prison. These are the bars,
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that struck me, his comment, they have their TVs and they're passionate about it. And I'm like, you're passionate
know.
about a smart TV? Come on.
Speak for yourself. I love the pulse. Justin, did you want to say something, mate?
Well, just to respond to Keel, I mean, if I had an OLED, I'd be pretty passionate about it too. Those things are fucking gorgeous.
Well, that's because you're a film connoisseur, and you want to give the greatest experience that the filmmaker wanted to express. That's why you would be passionate about it. A more bright and
Well,
expressive
because-
television.
really what does it is, because every time I go to Costco, I'm just like jerking off to the OLEDs.
Dude.
Because every
No wonder you get
single-
thrown out every time.
That's how I make friends, Stella. Every single pixel on an OLED can turn completely black. So you don't have a backlit black. You have true blacks, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah,
But
That's called rich black. Yes.
they've got that hallway of TVs that you can just walk down, and you're just you're like bathing
Oh my
in
God.
that TV light. Yeah,
Sweet EMFs. Beautiful.
it was a couple months ago when we went to Costco. My wife went to the bathroom and left me in the electronics section, and we came home with like a $400 sound bar. She hasn't done that.
You got the sound bar that you've been wanting for forever?
Yeah, and what pisses me off is that I have a 7.1.2 surround sound stereo system, Dolby Atmos capable, and a fucking receiver, but my wife won't let me put it in the bedroom because it's too big. It's fucking
That's what she
Dolby
said.
Atmos. That's another one of her complaints, Stella. But
Digital Panopticon. Gentleman Skeptic says Digital Panopticon, cheaper to observe people in their own homes instead of locking them up, which is exactly the scenario in Fahrenheit 451, if I'm not mistaken. They had large walls of a TV where they were just watching the people in their homes constantly. And,
Well,
that was
they can
that.
already do that with your Wi-Fi, apparently, by not using cameras, but by using some sort of technology where it can sense the masses in the room and can go through walls and everything. So it can actually pinpoint where each figure is.
See through the walls, basically.
Yes. I think it's some
wild.
sort of triangulation or something. I can't quite remember how the tech works.
Yes, it's crazy though.
They've had that in place for a long time. I remember hearing, maybe Alex Jones was talking about it back in the aughts, and they were saying the cable boxes that you had would have a little sensor on the front, and it was to record, to like pick up your remote control, but it could also scan kind of through some sort of radio, X-wave, X-ray technology or whatever. It could kind of view what was happening, and the manufacturers decided to use that to their advantage and would record for marketing purposes. They would record activities that you were performing when certain shows were on, and it was used for that purpose. But at this point, I'm sure it's just a flat out high definition camera that they're watching you on.
that's why you pull your pants down and show your asshole to the router at least once a week.
Right.
Give them a show.
Just to show your contrition, so they save you till last to raid. So
at least until they get you on insurrection.
Yeah. Gentleman Skeptic says, I saw something on Twitter today about using Ring cameras to monitor people's fast food consumption. I don't know how valid it is, but it wouldn't surprise me if that becomes a reality.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would imagine that they wouldn't even need to go to those extremes.
Exactly.
I would imagine that any credit card company is more than happy to divulge every single thing you've ever bought for literal fractions of a penny.
Right.
So, just to get back to this story, I just wanted to point out too that poll that they showed. Where is it? It's right on 126 if you want to bring that up. Ashley, I don't know whether you want to. But anyway, it's the poll where it says TV prominence polling. No government control. 94% of Australians say no government control. And 80% of Australians say it's my choice. I find that a little bit confusing because
I did as well.
Yeah. What's with the other? Okay, there's 6% there that don't have a mind of their own to even do a poll, or else they just didn't get asked.
That 6% is just government.
Possibly, or they just didn't say the right answer. I don't know about this. It's my choice, 20%. So 20% of people don't want a choice. Thank you, Ashley. 20% of people are quite happy for their choices to be made for them. That might be toddlers. I'm not sure how many toddlers there are in Australia. No government control, 94%. Well, that speaks volumes. So, if this government is so good at listening to the people, well, have a listen. There it is. We don't want you.
Well,
Stay in
I'm
your
sure this-
zone. Stay in your zone,
This is
grubberment.
not a government mandated poll, so they probably have
No.
their own poll that says, "Oh, people love when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to make decisions."
Yeah.
So
yeah. Govern me
170
harder.
174% of Australians are against it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see someone's pussy.
Oh, God.
All right. Now.
Tommy Kitten making an appearance again. Oh, here comes from my keyboard. Yes, I would say that a lot of people are very happy to Putty Tat was spotted. A lot of people are very, very happy with the situation that we have right now, where they aren't making decisions for themselves,
So
It appears so.
can I jump off Tim's comment real quick? And all I have open is Rumble chat. But are you familiar with the Sony rootkit scandal back in the late 90s, early aughts?
I think that's what I was referring to. That's that thing.
Yeah,
I don't remember the details, but it was something like that.
Basically, they put a computer virus on all of their music CDs so that when you would put it in your computer, it would basically give itself root access to your OS, and then they could do anything from there.
Wow.
So this was, you said, or was this like post, sorry, Stella,
No,
was
you're
this post Patriot Act days? Or you said 99, like in the 90s?
It'd be
Late 90s.
late 90s, early aughts.
So this was even before the Patriot Act came out, when the spying was,
well,
more known.
The rootkit scandal was to combat piracy. That was their excuse, and it was from 2005.
Yeah, that was when they were all sort of scrambling, the internet. They were trying to figure out supposedly trying to figure out all the copyright issues, because once the internet sort of kicked in and everyone really got, and streaming, it was just a bloody copyright nightmare. Everything completely got inverted.
The biggest victimless crime of all, music piracy.
Victimless, says the musician.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know we go there, and I think that Kill did it just to get a rise out of you, Stella.
Well, he got one.
Well,
but it is true. It takes money out of their pocket.
I am a massive advocate of piracy. I am also a massive advocate of directly supporting people that create things you like. Because if I pay $20 for a System of a Down CD, how much of that actually goes System of a Down? $1 maybe?
That would depend on their contract.
Probably paid $20 too much for that CD.
Oh, no, man. System of a Down Toxicity, best album ever created.
What year are you talking about? I mean, that will depend on how much money they got.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Are we talking pre-streaming, post-streaming?
Toxicity came out
System of the Down was 90s,
90s.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
So pre-streaming, pretty much. So they were probably making a lot more in the 90s than they were in the noughties.
Yeah.
2001, Toxicity, best album ever released.
Yeah, I was going to say early, because it was for sure at a time in my life that I was not in high school. So
we'll just leave that at, we'll just leave that
we'll leave that. All right, so let's what else? Do we have any more to add to the smart TV thing?
No, it's just a slippery slope, that's all. It's the beginning of a slippery slope. Be aware. I don't know. I suppose the only way around it is to get rid of the tech. I mean, I don't own a smart TV. I've never have. When I was with my ex, we had the box that creates a smart TV out of a dumb TV sort of thing, like a tuner.
Oh, okay.
Because that's, that was all sort of free with the internet pack that we got. See, they just get you in, and we just thought, well, we can reject it or we can have it. So yeah, we did that. And I was definitely not awake as much back then. Well, I had gone back into slumber, let's say.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really aware of everything. And then, it wasn't until sort of 2019, well, actually 2018, 19, I just went right off television anyway. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. It was just nothing worth watching. So,
that's where I'm at right now. Like, everything just sucks.
Everything's
So I was
done.
going to say that Sir Tim of the Tunnel says he was referring to the CIA's Weeping Angel program. I'm actually not familiar with that one. And then he also said that he watched a Behind the Music episode. I used to love that stuff on TLC. And one of the members said that they made around 19 cents per album sold.
So if they
Whoa.
sell 1 million albums, what's that like? 190,000?
Don't do math on live TV.
Yeah,
No,
no, not without
I'm
a calculator at least.
I'm channeling Terry right now. I got that maths down.
Well, hopefully Terry's got his calculator out. But yes, look, it's never been. It's always been an industry where you have to sell a lot of albums to make any money. It's always been like that, and also it's always been a very unfair industry in the sense that, like 80s, or prior to the way it all changed with the internet, you would be forwarded, you would be, what's the word, given some money to start with, to make an album or what have you. But then most of the contracts, you had to pay that money back. It wasn't like they just gave you the money and you invested. You had to pay it back. And that's often where things fell apart for the band because
it's like an advance, right?
In
Yeah,
advance.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, just like a book, an author.
Yeah.
So you got to pay it back, and even though the company, make crap loads more money than the musicians generally, but hopefully the musicians make something along the way. But it varies very much, like the percentage and what they make. But yeah, that's totally believable. 19 cents an album.
I wonder what the nationality and or religious affiliations the people at the top of these companies hold.
That's something that we will probably never be able to fully confirm on live streaming safely.
Safely, thank you.
On that note, I'd like to. We're about done here, so I'd like to thank Ashley and thank you Ismkant, thank you Stella, thank you listeners and viewers, everybody in the chat,
and thank you Kilthor.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, Tommy.
Ashley,
Tommy Kitten.
How can people get in touch with the Union of the Unknowns?
Well, Keel, I'm glad you asked. They can find us on our website at unionoftheunknowns.com. That's our Linktree page, and it has all the myriad ways that you can get in touch with us, including our Discord link, and we would love to have you there. Join the conversation. You can also find me running the Twitter page over on X Twitter at Union Unknowns. Back to you, Keel.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ashley. Think, change, repeat, as she has known in some groups.
What?
Go ahead, Justin.
Can I raise issue with Ashley real quick? When was the last time you... I know you've thought. I know you've repeated. But when was the last time you changed?
Ooh.
Every day.
I was about to... There you go. She's got it. Thank you, everybody. We are Union of the Unknowns. And we are out.
Love you guys.
Thank you for a perfect podcast, everyone.
Not Your Mama's News has been a production of the Union of the Unknowns podcast. New episodes are available weekly on all your favorite podcasting networks.